Joining us tonight, we've got Daniel Lloyd. He's joining us from Mid-Atlantic Broadband Community Corporations, and he's going to talk a little bit about the accounting side of entrepreneurship and small business. So welcome, Daniel. I'm going to hit you off with a question right away. And the question is, can you tell us about your range of experiences with accounting?
Sure. Yeah. I started my career, I guess, out of Averett University, went up to Northern Virginia, worked up there for about 3 years in public accounting. There we had most of our exposure was to nonprofits and then individual taxation. We did have some corporate clients, tax clients, but I didn't get much exposure there in that arena early in my career. Made a change there after about 3-4 years. Decided I wanted to come back home, live closer to the family. I'm a big family guy. So I came back, and my dad's business was actually struggling a little bit. So I kind of jumped in there and helped them where I could, and got some good exposure there to small business accounting. And not just that, but a little bit of everything. When you're the owner's son, you get the accounting side of it, you get payroll, you get taxes, you get, ductwork installation, HVAC repair, you name it, I got it there. But I would say that that did me an extreme amount of good in my career. I didn't see it at the time, but looking back on that now, I was there with him right on up until the economy took a downturn back in 2008, and after that, I had to get back into public accounting. So I moved up to Danville, and that's where I got some more exposure in the corporate accounting side of things and the corporate taxation side. A lot of experience for me came in the auditing and tax realm, but about 14 years worth of combined experience in all those areas. Then came NBC. I had an opening come available in 2015 at NBC. I wasn't looking at the time for a job, and a relative of mine said, "Hey, you've been wanting to work a little bit closer to home rather than driving to Danville." At the time is where I was driving to. By the way, I live in South Boston, if anybody's wondering, well, how long was he driving? So South Boston to Danville is about 45 minutes. But anyway, I found this opportunity in South Boston, and just been blessed to be here as the Senior Director of Finance and Administration for the last 5 years or so. I guess 6 years, 6+ years. Time flies when you're having fun.
Awesome. Daniel, thank you for that overview. I understand from a similar experience of working with my dad, who owned his own plumbing and heating business for 32 years, that you get to sweat some copper piping, and you get to put in some showers and stuff like that. It's more than just the business operational perspective, but I appreciate you giving context to the totality of your experience. So why does the accounting and legal stuff really matter for small businesses?
Oh, gosh, it's crucial. To me, if you can't operate at a profit, you're not going to stay in business very long, right? And there's so many things that throughout my career that I saw clients of ours struggle with, and including my dad's business for that matter. And it was with pricing. It was including all those costs, those hidden, what I used to call hidden costs, or costs you just kind of walk by and it's like, I didn't notice that laying there, right? A lot of people just call that overhead. So your light bill, your telephone bill, your internet service, gas for your vehicle, things like that can really sneak up on you. And if you don't include those costs in your pricing, it can hurt you. And I actually had a plumbing contractor that I worked with in Danville, and he used to tell me all the time, "Well, gosh, Daniel, I thought those were just costs of running my business. I thought I just had to eat those costs." And I said, "No, Lord, no. Go ahead and make somebody else pay for that, man." That's what you're in business to do, is to to make a profit. But anyway, I'd say the majority of struggles that I saw with small business owners was just recognizing those overhead costs and coming up with a pricing model there to make sure they're covering not just those operating costs, but your overhead as well.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And I know last week we talked about pricing and revenue models, and we had that overview from Sherry and Hope and Michael talking about pricing as the guest facilitator. And I know that you have, and this is a little bit off schedule, but you have a little bit of experience talking about nonprofit accounting, and the example that you just used for like having profit. How is that similar or different for our folks in this group? Because we have a pretty considerable amount of nonprofit ventures within this particular group. So do you just contextualize that just a little bit?
Well, I'm sorry, what was the question now? You were trying to.
So the main, I guess, similarities and differences between nonprofit and for-profit accounting that you have noticed in your experience.
Okay. Oh gosh, that's a good question. Similarities. Similarities I'd say would be your G&A costs. Gosh, you kind of caught me off guard with that question. That's a good one.
No, it's good. It's okay. It's okay. Based on what you've experienced thus far, because we're going to get into it. Like we're going to get into it, not just today, but we're going to talk about bottom line costing as well.
Yeah. Obviously on the nonprofit side, you don't have tax considerations. So income tax is not a burden for you. And that's something actually NBC is unique about that they do. We operate sort of like a for-profit company, but the profits that we make, we don't put that, in the pockets of investors or executives. We kind of spread that money out and reinvest it in the community. But yeah, I don't know if I've answered your question well there or not, but
that's
kind of
okay.
caught me off guard with that one. I'm not really, I would have to take a little bit of thought.
No, it's okay. I think that you just described a commonality amongst for-profit and nonprofit is that there has to be profit regardless. It's that profit for nonprofit is retained exclusively, right? You are not administering it out as dividend payments or interest payments to shareholders, that it is completely within the organization. You can't just write off bonuses and things of that nature, but you have to have profit in order to reinvest within the company, upgrade equipment, personnel, that kind of thing. So is what can go wrong if you don't set up things right and to begin with?
Okay. What can go wrong if you don't set up things right to begin with? Well, the foundation of a home is very important, right? I would say you need to make sure if I'm speaking mostly to nonprofit folks, I would say you really need to focus well on what your mission is as an organization. That things can go awry very quickly if you don't establish what that is, or if it's changing down the road. So you say, okay, this is the direction I'm going in, and then I'm kind of going here. I would say as a nonprofit, you kind of want to get that foundation set to get yourself going on the right path there.
Perfect. Thank you. And so in your experience, what are the most common mistakes? I know you probably alluded to it a little bit earlier, but what are the most common mistakes you see with small business and either, lack of accounting processes or that kind of thing? What do you see as like most affecting small businesses in relation to accounting?
Yeah, most of it can be internal control related. I'd say with smaller businesses, you don't have but so many people most of the time working. And one of the keys to good internal controls for an organization is segregation of duties. So you want people that are taking cash in. It's good to kind of have a second set of eyes looking over things. Maybe have the person that's receiving cash not be the one that takes the money to the bank, so to speak, but they actually fill out a form, cash receipts form. They bring that on to a separate person, that's a challenge sometimes when you're a smaller business. And really the only way around that, to kind of mitigate that risk is to get the ownership. You know, you've got to be involved. You got to be plugged into your business, and you kind of have to be that second set of eyes. So that's why it's important, you know, as the owner of the business or the one kind of operating it, that you get involved on the review side.
Awesome. So when with that in mind, when should an accountant kind of be brought in? Do you see them being necessary to be brought in at the beginning as things are within the first year of operating? What's your opinion on that?
That's a great question. Prior to day one, for sure. And that's most of the time, that's not the way it works. A lot of times folks will get their ideas in place, they'll get the business started, and then they come to the accountant after the fact, and the accountant says, well, did you think of this or did you do this? And by then it's time to, you know, if you're for profit, it's time to pay the tax, you know, on the decision you made where you maybe could have saved some money had you consulted prior to. But seeing an accountant before day one, and an attorney for that matter, is a good idea. If they can help you set up the legal structure of your business the way that you need it to be. And again, that's once you tell them, you know, what you're trying to do, what your mission is, they can help you from there, establish that structure in that company.